Welcome back to this review of the 2015 F3 Cup season. After a trip to Spa, it was on to Snetterton in some very changeable weather conditions.
And away we go. We've got one car in trouble off the line, and that is Clement de Milo. So problems for the Carlin Run driver, as it is Henry Chart who leads into Riches for the first time. Everybody cleanly through. There's James Lederman a little bit further back down the pack in one of the trophy class cars as Chart leads the way. Second place is Steele. Then it's Hamilton Smith from Sebastiani, Tapanos and Wiltshire. It's just towards the back of the field. There was Adrian Holy struggling for grip as through Palmer and on towards Agostini, and all the drivers running a little bit wide in these early stages, and Sebastiani wider than the rest of them as around he goes. And Jacopo Sebastiani has had more than one rotation in his Dallara this year, and he has two in that one instance, so he has got an awful lot of recovery work to do over the next 15 minutes. Out front though it is Henry Chart, but he has got Steele and Hamilton Smith breathing down on his tail as they accelerate along the Bentley Straight towards Brundle and Nelson. The heat haze shimmers off the cars as you can see that Steele waits till the last moment, trying to pounce to the inside of Henry Chart. He can't quite do it. They flick through Nelson and then on towards the bomb hole, and again Henry Chart forced defensive, moves across, covers the line nice and late. Steele getting a little bit frustrated now with Louis Hamilton Smith poised and ready to challenge. There is the very fast recovering Clement de Mello. So Clement de Mello, he got the start all wrong, but since then he has had a remarkably strong first lap to the race. Again, Steele looks like the move on Henry Chart, and this time he makes it stick. So Aaron Steele leads the way into Riches. Chart looks to fight back around the outside, then to the inside, and he does it as Steele overcommits to the inside line. And it also opens the opportunity for Hamilton Smith to possibly challenge as well as they hurtle on towards the Montreal hairpin on the brakes and around the right-hander, then on to the first of a sequence of left-handers at Palmer. Chart's back in front, he's driving with a little bit more assurance. Here comes the race lead then, and Steele still in command from Hamilton Smith, who is under a significant pressure now for that second place and gets demoted. Beautiful move from Clement de Milo. He just jinked out of the slipstream, challenged to Riches, and heads towards Montreal under the acclamation of the scary tree. As now Hamilton Smith has got his work cut out, maybe to keep Henry Chart behind him between now and the checkered flag. We also have this intriguing battle at the front of the field, as Clement de Mello has got about half the race to close the gap down as Daniel Tapanos gets it all wrong coming out of Hamilton. But now the leader's changed and Clement de Mello is through, so Aaron Steele demoted and Clement de Mello takes advantage, moves clear. Don't forget, this driver stalled on the line, went into Riches for the first time at the very, very tail of the field, and he has now fought his way through up to the front of the pack. Meanwhile, here is Daniel Tapanos, who has another big moment at Hamilton, and he veers back onto the road. Sebastiani takes evasive action and makes the overtaking manoeuvre. So Jacopo Sebastiani up into 7th place as a result of that moment for Daniel Tapanos. Into the final turn for Zach Clement de Mello. It's been a beautifully judged performance. He recovered magnificently from bogging down at the start, and he accelerates through to the checkered flag and victory in the F3 Cup at Snetterton. So across the line, checkered flag and the win for Clement de Mello.
So we get the green light, and it is Henry Chart leading the field away, but briefly, only just briefly, because Zachary Clement de Mello is straight down the inside of him in the Carlin car. Number 13 up into first position as they head around Riches and down towards Montreal for the first time. And you can see what the kind of conditions we have got here. Lots and lots of rain pouring down and trying to make a move around the outside at the Montreal corner, but Clement de Mello holding on to his position for the time being. But this rainstorm may have just caught a few of the drivers out, because as you can see, all these drivers tiptoeing around the track on slick tyres, and some doing so rather better than others, losing contact with the track entirely there. That is car number 27, James Lederman, who has gone off backwards down at the Palmer corner, and the drivers finding these conditions utterly treacherous. because their slick tyres will have lost all temperature as the Norfolk rain has thoroughly caught out the field, and Zachary Clayman de Mello having to explore some unusual lines as they round the Williams corner, staying well away from the inside line of the circuit where the rubber will have built up, because there will be no grip there now that the rain has started to fall. But nonetheless, de Mello has got himself a nice little lead at the end of the Bentley Straight as he sweeps left into Brundle Corner, and following in behind him there in third position is Aaron Steele. He started from third on the grid, but he has seen a couple of the drivers around him swap positions, and the rest of the field filtering out of the bomb hole for the first time, but under very grey and cloudy skies for this race, and the rain doing them no favours at all. There goes Wade Eastwood. There is Louis Hamilton-Smith, and the back end gets away from him. And just as we were saying how tricky it can be to keep the car on the black stuff in these conditions, you only need to tread on the throttle a tiny little bit too severely, spin those rear tyres up, and you are pirouetting off. And the battle for second place continues, but Henry Chart, having had that mistake at Montreal and kept his car going again, suddenly closes in a lot on Henry Chart as they come around the right-hander at Riches. They're now into the Williams turn, which is going to feed them back onto the Bentley Straight. And is he close enough to perhaps get in the slipstream of the car ahead of him? We'll find out shortly, but in the meantime, Zachary Clayman de Mello up at the sharp end of the field, absolutely untroubled, and will be collecting the checkered flag very shortly. But down into Nelson, and it's another spin for Henry Chart. He's lost it a second time, and I'd be surprised if he doesn't lose a couple of positions there, because he's taking a while to get going again. And sure enough, Daniel Tapanos and Stuart Wiltshire come through as Henry Chart regains the circuit. But there's the checkered flag for Zachary Clayman de Mello, a consummate performance by the Canadian driver, pulling away cleanly at the head of the field. Second place goes to Aaron Steele after a very difficult race in treacherous conditions, and Daniel Tapanos is well rewarded for his hard work with third position ahead of Stuart Wiltshire. As you can see, a wet track and wet tyres, Clayman de Mello on the left and Aaron Steele on the right as we get ready for the start, and de Mello gets away cleanly, Aaron Steele not away quite so well. Very, very narrow start-finish line at Snetterton, and just look at all that spray as the field head down towards Riches on the first lap. Flashing red lights at the back of all the F3 Cup cars to assist the drivers with the visibility, because it can be very, very hard in these conditions. As you can see, down to Montreal for the first time, Clayman de Mello very, very wide, and Daniel Tapanos knocked into a spin and facing the wrong way around, having to get going once again, but he's fallen all the way down to last place. But Clayman de Mello, meanwhile, looking to follow up his victory in the first race with a second, and leading the field around the long left-hander at Palmer and pressing on. So Clayman de Mello, it is in the lead, and we may have another driver off here. Now there is Clayman de Mello still in the lead as they come out. Aaron Steele in second place, and in third it is Henry Chart ahead of Jacopo Sebastiani, who's moved up to fourth place, having started from sixth on the grid. The drivers now through the left-hander at Hamilton and pick out a braking point for Odgie's tricky little corner, which opens up on the exit, and the drivers feed the power on and now head towards the long right-hander at Williams, a big, broad, constant apex corner, and that brings them onto the Bentley Straight, where they will head towards top speed. But already up at top speed, Zachary Clayman de Mello has got himself a healthy lead in his Carling car, well ahead of Aaron Steele. Third place there is Henry Chart ahead of Jacopo Sebastiani, and we wait to see just how far back Daniel Tapanos has fallen and whether he's going to be able to make the same kind of overtaking moves in this race that he did to such great effect in the first. Well, there he is, quite a way further back. But Zachary Clayman de Mello has basically got this race as a private test session for himself, because he's got no one anywhere near the back of him, and he has plenty of clear air ahead of him. Not exactly ideal conditions for motor racing, but nonetheless very useful experience for the Canadian driver, who has stepped up from karting this year into single-seaters. And behind him, a little bit away further back, Aaron Steele, and just ducking out of the slipstream there, Henry Chart. possibly trying to get a little bit better visibility, or just make sure that his car's air intake has got water-free air to allow his engine to run at its very best. And running still quite wide there, taking an alternative line at the Montreal hairpin and accelerating out of it for Aaron Steele. Henry Chart following along behind him for now, not able to draw any closer, and nor behind them is Jacopo Sebastiani in 4th place. We've got a replay of some action further back, and this looks like Wade Eastwood losing and then retaking the position from Daniel Tapinos. And there is Louis Hamilton Smith, car number 3, with the white and red livery, looking very much like something the ART team might run in their typical livery in GP3 or Formula Renault 2 litre. But there he is, pressing on, trying to get onto terms with Jacopo Sebastiani, who didn't run so well in the first wet race around Snetterton, but for the time being at least is able to keep Louis Hamilton Smith some way behind him. Sadly, no British Formula 3 Championship to speak of these days, but we do still have the F3 Cup, which brings drivers in multiple different F3 chassis together. Here is Zachary Clement de Mello in one of the best of them, and he's made best use of it indeed. He takes the checkered flag for the 2nd time this weekend. It's another victory for Zachary Clement de Mello in the Carlin car number 13. Mission accomplished for him at Snetterton.
After the final rounds on the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit in Silverstone, it was Aaron Steele who took the 2015 championship.